Welcome to Fix It for Josh's sake. I'm working on this old snowmobile here. It's a 1972 Arctic Cat Lynx. If you've been watching any of my videos, this has been getting a lot of attention lately. This last weekend I started it up and I was excited that it ran, but two things I noticed. One was there was a rat nest in the fan shroud and I got that cleaned out. The other thing I noticed was the muffler was not letting exhaust flow through it. It was actually coming out the header and just billowing up all over in this belly pan right here. And this thing was just full of smoke. So today, my project is going to be to pull that muffler off and clean it out. I'm guessing there's maybe a mouse nest in there too or something, but we got to figure out how to get the smoke to flow from the motor through the header, through the muffler, and out the bottom. I want it to come out down, way down under here, as opposed to coming out way up here. So welcome to Fix It for Josh's sake as we tackle this project and make this thing run a little cleaner. I just think these old sleds are so cool. This is what it looks like over here. Got this cool logo and big old fiberglass hood. When you flip this hood up, we come down in here and we see this beautiful Comet Duster clutch. Man, this is the choice clutch right here if you're going to be ripping and roaring and racing one of these little 292 engines. And then this right here, here's my header, comes down to the muffler right here. And this is the muffler you want as well. This is called a suitcase muffler because you can literally grab it like a suitcase handle. Well, right here is where all the smoke was billowing out. And it should have been coming out down here, but we didn't get any smoke down here. It was all coming out right here. So I'm going to go through this process of getting some tools laid out, getting this pulled out, and we're going to tackle cleaning it up. First things first, like you'll be seeing me talk about in all my videos, we want to get ourselves some penetrating oil, and we want to go ahead and soak up these nuts and bolts really good, because that's going to be rusty and crusty, and I want those to break free easily. So now that I got those soaking, we're going to go up here and size up these exhaust springs. These are going to be pretty tight, and so I got a special tool that I use to pull these apart and get those springs off of there. Now I've seen guys go at this these exhaust springs with just needle nose pliers and a screwdriver, and you know, the fact of the matter is there's a good chance you're going to bust your knuckles up trying to do that. So I highly recommend you get yourself a nice heavy pair of leather gloves and get yourself a tool with a hook on the end. This thing, man, that'll grip in there real good. You still might need a pliers like a needle nose to help you out a little bit, but at the end of the day, you're not going to have any battle wounds that turn into long-term scars using some extra tools like this. All right, not all springs are created equal. These are pretty much shot. I'm going to be getting a new set. I want those to pull together a little tighter. That could be part of the problem why a bunch of exhaust was coming out of here. But either way, this tool is useful. And so we got our springs out of the way. Now we're going to go get ourselves a socket and a ratchet, and we're going to start pulling these nuts off so that we can get this muffler out of here. Go grab your 9/16 inch socket, grab a long extension, and we're going to go ahead and put it on here and pull these nuts off. The other one you got to kind of come around underneath of the hood guard and get under there, but that's how you do it. All right, I'm gonna need two hands for that one. Don't forget to grab yourself a little container of some sort so that as you unscrew these nuts, you got a place to drop them in and don't lose them that way. Okay, that's nuts. Got those off of there, and I start moving this muffler around, and okay, that's not supposed to be that loose. I'm also impressed at how easy this is coming out of here. Some things are great, but that should be connected better. Okay. I mean, no joke. I didn't use any penetrating oil. I didn't loosen these or anything. And whoop, there, that came right off. So that's a little sketchy. Oh, and look at this. Well, we got the muffler out of here. We should probably get the vacuum cleaner and clean that up a little bit. The old girl will probably enjoy that a lot. You know, the older I get, the dorkier the things I buy at Menards become. Like, look at this Go-Go Extender Gadget vacuum nozzle. Oh my goodness. But it'll probably work pretty good for getting way down in here. So maybe it wasn't that ridiculous of a purchase. Tell me I'm ADD without telling me I'm ADD. Alright, I came in here to do a muffler project, and I ended up getting lost on polishing this belly pan for a little bit. So, anyway, we're back. This is all cleaned up, and things are looking pretty good. Look at that! Oh my god, there was an aluminum belly pan underneath of all this oil and grime and dirt. So, okay, we're going to get back on track. We're going to clean the muffler up that was sitting in here a little bit ago and get that bolted in correctly to this muffler right there, this header. And then maybe we'll have some smoke coming out of this hole instead of out of that hole. Can pretty clearly see here why they call this a suitcase muffler. Because, yeah, let's take this on the airplane and go for a little vacation. Maybe someplace where there's a lot more snow than there is, you know, sunshine and green trees. But back to the project at hand here. I got my air compressor and my nozzle, and I'm going to blow a bunch of air through here. Make sure it's coming out really good in here. Might blow some air in here and make sure it comes out good over here. If that doesn't work, there is another trick up my sleeve, but I'll save that for further down the line. For this next step, get yourself a rag, and then you can stick your nozzle around in there. And once it's in, well, I gotta open it up a little bit. Once it's in, you can wrap it around real tight, and then blast some air in there. Let's see if anything's coming out. Yeah, not sure much is coming out of there. Doesn't seem like it. I mean, I've seen better. Okay, so I just pulled a little gas out of the gas tank of my snowmobile, and I'm going to squirt it in here. And then I'm going to shake this all around and shake it all about, do the hokey pokey, get that in there all over the place. And now I'm going to go get me a torch. All right, I would suggest if you do something like this, be outside, be away from your house, your shop, your garage, your car, your snowmobile, because we're going to play with fire now. I'm going to crack this open just a little bit till I hear a hiss. See if we get a little pop here. All right, turn that down a little bit. And I'm going to add in some oxygen because that'll make it hotter. Well, sometimes that oxygen comes in pretty fast. I'm actually going to let it stay running right on map gas, and that's it. That's plenty hot, because all I'm trying to do is burn the gas that's in here out. You can see it feeding in. And hopefully if there's any grime in there, mouse nest, anything like that, we can burn it out. Like that. You can see it's burning on both ends. And that's exactly what we want. If there's any grass, mouse nest, feathers, fur, anything in there, that'll all be burning out. So that's the goal anyway. I was just looking at that last camera shot, and that angle had it looking pretty sketchy, the way my torch hose was coming underneath of the spout here. But when you see the distance, I'm not that irresponsible. My line was under here, fire's up here. It was fine. But yeah, it looked scary on the camera. I agree with your thought there. And in the meantime, while I let that cool off, I ran inside and I got myself some real beefy muffler springs. So these are going to hold a lot better than those wimpy little ones we had on there before. Well, I thought I had it all burned out, and then I tipped it over and some more gas dumped out. So I lit it again, and you can kind of see that there's some gas in there flowing around. So take some time and make sure you get it all burned out, but also be really careful, because if oxygen gets in there just right, it'll boom, like flow out really fast out of these ports, almost like a jet. So don't point your muffler tips either end at yourself. Keep it always pointed away from you here, kind of like this. It's hard to show it on the camera, but you get the idea. Don't want anybody to get hurt as they're cleaning out a muffler that's got a backup or buildup in it. All right. Well, we goofed around a long time on that, but I'm going to move on now, and I got my parts laid out here. I'm going to take a couple little disposable stainless steel brushes, scrub around on them. I started. I'm going to scrub a little more and clean them up really good. Then I'll wipe them down with some alcohol and a clean rag, get them all wiped down really good. And then I'm going to put some of this high heat primer on these. I'll paint them up with this. This high heat primer works pretty well. As you can tell, 2000 degrees is a pretty great temperature to have endurance to. And then I'll put on some high heat paint with a 2000 degree resistance, which should make this muffler look pretty sharp, pretty almost brand new before we bolt it back into the snowmobile. When you're painting your stuff, make sure that you're giving nice, gentle strokes, and then release the paint at the end of each shot. You don't ever want to camp anywhere when you're painting. You got to always keep the spray pattern moving, and that way it fans out really nice. And you notice anytime I'm done with a stroke, I let off on the spray nozzle, and that gets me a real nice coat. And we're not in a hurry. You're never in a hurry when you're painting. You're always spraying a light coat and letting it dry for a couple minutes. That way it's tacky and it starts to hold to itself when the next coat comes a little thicker. And yeah, you just don't need to get a big pool of paint anywhere. So take your time when you're painting and cover it up real good, but know that you can cover it up real good with 2 or 3 coats. All right. Another thing I should mention when I'm painting is it's good to take seconds to also shake your can up a little bit while you're painting so that you keep everything nicely stirred up inside of the can. So don't be afraid to take some time to do that in between the painting process. Now that I got the muffler parts painted up, I'm looking at putting it back on the header that's bolted to the motor in the chassis over there. And this is squished like an egg. So we're going to need some 1/2-inch socket or open-end box end to loosen that up. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to open up this egg and make it more round. I'm pretty sure that's why it was coming off of the header pipe, because it was squished to the point where it couldn't even fit on anymore. So I already wrapped down here a few times, but what I did is I took my crescent wrench here, put it in there like that, took my little 16-ounce hammer and wrapped down on it. And because this is a bit of a circle, it just opens that up real nicely. I know a guy could go down to the hardware store and get himself a muffler expander, but that's really not necessary here. This is a pretty thin wall. It's already got some cuts in it. And so we just got to open it up so it's more rounded, and that way it'll slide right over top of that header pipe over there. Yep, that works pretty well. We got a nice round pipe now. The other thing I'll need to do is you can kind of see it's a little bit egg-shaped right here. So I'm going to squish this and get it more rounded out so that when we go ahead and put this on there, it's round to round rather than round to egg-shaped. I noticed that egg shape was basically because of the internal shape of this clamp. So I'm rotating it forward a little bit to follow the angle of the belly pan. I'll still have perfect angle to be able to come in here with my ratchet and tighten it at these 2 points, but it'll also change the grabbing point, and hopefully this muffler adapter part here off the header will have a little bit more rigidity by rotating this a little bit, and it will hold better. And then I'm over here staging my U-bolt down in here, and then I got my clamp here. I'm going to set that as well, and then I'm going to go ahead and set it in here and see how it lines up. Now, just to point out, I haven't tightened these yet because we don't know exactly where things are going to line up when everything sits in. So don't tighten that until you got everything plopped down in and this pipe down in the hole and all that kind of stuff. And then you can start tightening there. You can start tightening the U-bolts there. You'll need your 1/2 inch socket for these. You'll need your 9/16 inch socket for these. So we got that sitting there. This is coming along and sitting here. And the best way to be able to hold up on that U-bolt is to reach your hand around between the chain case and the back of the muffler here and hold it up. That technique works pretty good. When you're getting it set up, pay attention to the direction of that bolt down in there, because you want to have a direct angle at it with your socket. So don't get that spun in or out where you can't get at it. There's just a little sliver you got to slide into, so pay attention to that. And also, when you're tightening these in, don't over snug these in the beginning, because you need to kind of have the play to get that one in there. And the only way I could get my nut to tighten up on that U-bolt was to come in with my fingers from both sides and using a both hands spin process. So it's a little precarious down in there, tucked right along this hood guide. So once I got it started, I could put a ratchet on it and tighten that right up. Details. Okay, this linkage needs to be spun so that this flange and this flange line up, because we're going to attach springs on there. And I'm going to do that next. But a second ago, I had this twisted over there, and obviously it wouldn't have lined up. So just pay attention that you got these ready to clip, and they're lined up with each other for the springs to grab onto. And then, once I have those springs on there, I'm going to tighten that bracket. Before you tighten this clamp, go ahead and wiggle around on this and make sure that this fitting just really camps. Like, I want that to sit in there real tight and get a nice seal. And then once you got that all ready to go ahead and tighten down these 1/2 inch nuts. Well, there you have it. The muffler's in. Everything's bolted tight. It's nice and snug, connected properly to the bulkhead and to the header pipe right here. So, pretty happy with this. I'd fire it up right now, but I got a buddy texting me telling me I need to get down to the pub and get a burger and a beer with him. So, thanks for following along with me as I worked on this snowmobile. If you enjoyed it and you found it useful and helpful, please follow me. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a comment if you have any questions or ideas or ways I could have done this better. I'd love to hear it. But until then, thanks for watching me do this work as I fixed it for Josh's sake.